The President offered his condolences as well as his thoughts and prayers to the victims and their family and to all Canadians. This is another senseless act of violence that cannot be tolerated. The President also pledged to support the Canadian Police and Intelligence Service in any way necessary. Prime Minister Trudeau was extremely appreciative, and he was also cautious to draw conclusions on the motives at this stage of the investigation, and the President shared those thoughts. Canadian law enforcement officials are actively investigating this matter. We condemn this attack in the strongest possible terms. It's a terrible reminder of why we must remain vigilant and why the President is taking steps to be proactive rather than reactive when it comes to our nation's safety and security. We are, of course, praying for those injured in the attack and are keeping in close contact with officials in Quebec and Canada. We're moving into a quick recap of the events of the past few days. As you all know, the President had an extremely busy weekend. He followed up on his first week of action with a weekend of action. On Saturday and Sunday alone, the President spoke with 8 foreign leaders. He signed executive orders delivering on some of the biggest campaign promises that he made to the American people, and he met with staff to continue to plan another busy week. Also over this weekend, we carried out a very successful raid against al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which resulted in the death of an estimated 14 AQAP members and the capture of important intelligence that will better enable us to counter and prevent future terrorist plots. Tragically, during this raid, the life of a brave service member was taken and 4 were wounded. Our thoughts and our prayers are with the family of this fallen American hero, and we also pray for a speedy recovery and complete recovery of those service members who sustained injuries. The President also signed another memo when he was at the Department of Defense, instructing the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the next 30 days to deliver to him a plan to defeat ISIS. This comprehensive strategy and plan must include a recommendation to changes to any rules of engagement and other policy restrictions that exceed the requirements of international law regarding the use of ISIS, public diplomacy, information operations, and cyber strategies to isolate and delegitimize ISIS and its radical Islamist ideology, identification of new coalition partners in the fight against ISIS, and policies to empower coalition partners to fight ISIS and its affiliates, mechanisms to cut off ISIS financial support, including financial transfers, money laundering, oil revenue, human trafficking, the sales of looted art, historical facts, and other revenue sources, and a detailed strategy to robustly fund the plan. This presidential memorandum is a profound statement that the President's clear objective is to defeat and destroy ISIS, and that we're going to do it systematically. This is not only a necessary step for America's national security, it is also a humanitarian imperative. If ISIS is left in power, the threat it poses only grows. We know it has attempted to develop chemical weapons capabilities. It maintains a goal of recruiting homegrown terrorists, and its attacks against our allies and partners continue to mount. The United States must take decisive action, and the President is taking the necessary steps. As a quick recap, on Friday, you saw the President's enthusiastic reception at the Department of Defense for the ceremonial swearing-in of Secretary Mattis as our Secretary of Defense. While at the Pentagon, the President also signed 2 executive actions to protect America from those who wishes to do us harm. This focus on securing our borders and our homeland was obviously a major part of what the President campaigned on, and now he's doing exactly what he told the American people he would do. The President will always put the safety and prosperity of our country first and foremost. We kicked off Saturday by launching the weekly address, which debuted for the first time on Facebook Live. Nearly 11 million people were reached by the address online. Over 1.1 million people engaged with the post via comments, likes, and other interactions. And as of this morning, the video had been viewed almost 5 million times. And just as he did throughout the campaign, this is another example of the President being able to take his message directly to the American people. On Saturday, the President signed 3 executive actions on issues ranging from government ethics to national security. As part of the President's plan to drain the swamp in Washington and return power to the American people, he signed an executive order imposing strict post-employment rules on all federal political appointees, including a 5-year lobbying ban and a lifetime ban for foreign government lobbying, among other restrictions. The President continues to make it very, very clear that if you want to be part of a Trump administration, you're going to be serving the country, not yourself. The President also signed a memorandum modernizing the structure of the National Security Council and the Homeland Security Council. There's been a lot of misreporting this week about what this memo does and does not do. So let me walk you through this real quick. There's two issues at hand. One is the makeup of the NSC, and the other is the makeup of the Principals Committee. The Principal Committee is merely the NSC minus the President. The idea is that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the DNA are being downgraded or removed is utter nonsense. They are at every NSC meeting and are welcome to attend the principals meetings as well. To be clear, the memo lays out that if there's a principals meeting that is outside their scope, for example, a domestic issue that doesn't pertain to the military, they're not required but certainly welcome to be in attendance. We recognize that certain homeland security issues may not be military issues, and it would not be in the best interest of the Joint Chiefs' valuable time to be at these meetings. Just yesterday, we called several outlets who were severely misreporting this topic to better inform them about what this memo means. So let me just walk through this real quick. This is the 2001 NSC stand-up memo. This is the 2009 memo, and then this one is I've got the 13 here as well, or the 2017 rather, right here. This is the language that consists of the national security team, the director of the Central Intelligence, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as statutory advisors to the NSC, shall also attend NSC meetings. That is the identical language in 2017 as it was in 2009 when Obama drafted his. Verbatim, identical. The makeup of the Principals Committee from 2017 is exactly as it was in both 2017 as it was in 2001. 100% identical, except we add the word also. I think it's pretty clear that if you look at all three of these, that's what it does. To be clear, the memo just yesterday, we called that out. Starting with the membership of the NSC, as you can see here, the language that's part of the President's memo is identical to the language from President Bush's 2001. The only thing that's changed in this is the addition of the Director of National Intelligence as a position that didn't exist in 2001. For what it's worth, it's the same as Obama, save for the word also. In terms of the Principals Committee, as you can see from the various language here, and this is, I'll give you 2017 on the Principals Committee. This is the Principals Committee in 2017, and this is the 2001 Principals Committee. It is literally 100% the same. 2001 and 2017 are identical. So this idea that there's been a change or a downgrade is utter nonsense. With respect to the Joint Chiefs in particular, the President holds Chairman Dunford in the highest regard. The suggestion that he would downgrade the important role that the chairman plays in matters of national security reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of the tremendous respect that the President holds for both the chairman himself and the Joint Chiefs as a whole. For the record, I know someone tweeted out, where was the CIA in this? The CIA hasn't been part of the NSC since the DNI was sworn in for the first time in 2005. That being said, the President has such respect for Director Pompeo and the men and women of the CIA that today the President is announcing that he will amend the memo to add the CIA back into the NSC. So I know that there was a tweet yesterday from the former National Security Advisor that said, where is the CIA out of everything? Well, I'd like to remind the former National Security Advisor that when the memo was drafted in 2009, I don't see the Obama administration including the CIA in theirs. It is President Trump that is including the CIA, not the former administration. So just to be clear, when it comes to the CIA, as you know, number one, it wasn't part of the restructuring of the NSC after the DNI was named and sworn in 2005. And we are the administration that's adding it back into the NSC and amending it in. It was the Obama administration that didn't have it in. So to answer the former National Security Advisor's tweet, the CIA isn't ours and it wasn't in theirs.